Good evening. My name is Jader. I'm the founder of Black Label Closers, an organization to help people become highly effective in high ticket sales. Tonight we're going to talk about. I wanted to address the sales floors, the companies that hire and train salespeople. I wanted to share a couple of things that I've learned in this 25 years that I've been in this industry, helping salespeople grow and understanding the psychology. Every single time that I have these lives, and let me just make a parenthesis here. I haven't been able. So for the past week and a half, I haven't been able to hop on the live here, and just had an accident, and we have been, my wife and I have been pretty banged up, trying to recuperating and kind of getting back to normal since the accident. So I'm glad that I got to I got a little bit better or a lot better, to be able to share um, experience and a little bit of the wisdom that I've learned from other people and helping people grow when they want to learn the art of high sales. So tonight, I wonder if you want to subscribe, comment. If you don't agree with something, let me know. I'm all ears. We can talk about it, chat about it, as long as you're respectful and we can be respectful and cordial to each other. That's going to be something I always welcome. Tonight, I wanted to address the companies that train and hire salespeople, and just to give you a little bit of an angle as far as what I've come to understand, and how the psychology of dealing with salespeople. If you watch other videos, watch lives that I have constantly every single week, except when I have an accident, right? I try to make it here Tuesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every time. Um, a reoccurring topic or in every single part of what I teach and train on, I always talk about psychology, the psychology of everything, the psychology of the prospect, the psychology of the process, the psychology of the salesperson, psychology. That's always, sales wouldn't be anything without the psychology, right? So today we're going to talk about, and I'd like to address trainers and managers and company owners that hire and train salespeople, and why it's so important to maintain a a high level of that a constant relationship where you can criticize, you can critique, you can educate, you can train, you can correct and help recover. But at the same time, what's on the other side of that? If we're just training, critiquing, criticizing, and we're not helping the person grow psychologically, and we're not giving them um, uh, motivation back, if we're not making them feel like they can come to us and trust us to, with whatever it is that they're having problems with, right? That's the job of a manager, of a leader, on any level that you're sitting. Um, it is important to lead with respect, with enthusiasm, with firm belief in the strategies that you're teaching, that you're training. So we're going to talk about a couple of things today that I think are extremely important. And the first one, so the art I decided to title this live, "Top Salespeople Will Give You Endless Numbers of Sales," right? And the reason why I chose that title pertains a lot to do with people company leaders, managers, trainers, they're constantly focusing on what's best for the prospect, what's best for the customer, which is great, and you should, right? The customers are the bread and butter of what we're trying to do. If you're trying to grow, if you're trying to maintain your growth, if you're trying to grow even bigger, right? If you're trying to recover from a loss, from anything that went wrong with whatever account, if you're trying to make it back, always the prospect is the one that's going to help you get back on track. But I want you to think about this. I want you to think about the fact that one single customer, even though you can upsell one single customer, right? A customer, a prospect, they become customers legally when they purchase something from you, right? And depending on what you do, they can become clients of yours. If there's a long-term contract, right? But then we're going to give them. We're going to call them prospects or customers for the sake of the argument. So you can upsell a customer a couple of times a year, maybe 3, maybe 4 times, depending on what you sell, right? But one single salesperson constantly, every week, we're talking about ethical, high effective salespeople, closers, will give you sales every single week, hopefully multiple times, right? So think of your salespeople as kind of customers as well, right? It is really hard to find an effective, ethical salesperson or closer, right? Remember, I have a little bit of a distinction between what a salesperson is versus a closer. A salesperson is a person that's always chasing sales. A closer's a person that's always closing deals, right? So regardless of what you're calling, or if you have a discrepancy as far as how the distinction that I make, a salesperson or closer is going to ideally, and that's the reason why someone makes it to being a closer, is the fact that he or she is effective at what they do, and they're going to give you and bring you multiple sales a week. All right. So one prospect might give you 4 or 5 sales in 1 year. One single effective closer will probably give you north of 100 sales per year, right? Even more than that. So you got to really focus and understand sometimes the inconformities that a closer might be experiencing because of lack of motivation, excess of criticism. That's a problem that you do not want to be a part of. You want to be balanced in how you're raising your sales teams, right? So the first point that I have here is when training salespeople, critique them, but also reward their good performance. All right. So obviously you're going to start educating if someone is brand new or someone that just came in and who's brand new to your floor, maybe an experienced closer. Either way, they're going to have to train at least for a couple of days or maybe a week, maybe a couple of weeks, depending on how much of a complexity your product has. It is important to, the first contact that you're going to have as far as the process to help him become effective is education, right? You're going to educate him. You probably have trainers. You are probably training yourself. But it is important to start also at some point underlying their wins, right? And wins could be interpreted in different ways, right? It's not always a credit card with a process payment, right? Someone who is training with you for the first time, selling for the first time, and I'm going to tell you this: not every seasoned closer works best for X company. Sometimes the product, sometimes the psychology of the sale, sometimes the perception of the product, the perception of the market can hurt experienced closers, especially when they bring bad habits. And in some instances, it is preferred to hire people with no sales experience. At that point, you can mold them, you can shape them into what you're looking for, right? And that's something that's going to take a little bit longer, right? Depending on the um, how easy somebody entry in the industry, how easy they contour to the process, how easy they contort to the sell, to the psychology of the process, whatever, right? So it is important to always, um, if you saturate a salesperson, especially if you have a setter or closers, if you saturate them too much with criticism, constant repetition of the same thing, not enough not enough getting together with them and role play and helping them out in anything that they're the weakest at, and helping their weaknesses become strengths. That's something that the closer or the person going through that training process, or even experienced people that have some time with you, will welcome. I mean, that's something that always resonates with salespeople. I know when I was working for companies, every time that I had a win and they noticed that and they gave me props for it, I felt that I was doing a good job. And if I kept doing a good job, I was going to get more of the same, right? And then I started closing, and I became, obviously, we're going to praise more the people that close the most. We're going to praise more those top salespeople, but also that 30%. Remember, I don't know if you watch one of the videos that I have, I classify salespeople in 4 categories: superstars, top salespeople, average, and terrorists. Right? I'm not talking about um, when you have a terrorist, and let me define that. A terrorist is someone who comes to be distracting, someone who entertains other activities inside the working time, or someone who is creating drama, someone who's asking for money all the time ahead of the time, right? That's someone that, especially if they're not making money, right? I don't have any problem helping someone a couple of times, 3 times. For instance, I had a closer, very effective. He started closing deals, and he asked me 3 times in 3 very, very within 3 weeks. So he was asking me for advances in the 3 weeks, but he was making a ton of money, so I didn't have any problem helping the guy. But if it's someone that hasn't made a sale for a couple of weeks, makes a sale, and they want money before they get paid, I do have a problem with that, helping someone like that. But if it's someone that is going to town, dialing, being effective on the phone or on the Zoom calls or whatever personal, face-to-face calls, I don't have any problem helping people like that. Sometimes, people need help, right? So, but terrorists, in my opinion, are people that are there just to waste your leads, waste your time, and on top of that, they're going to ask for money. Some of them even ask for money before they make sales, or in a long period of time they haven't made sales and they start asking for money as a draw. I don't know. Those are the people I call terrorists. So you got to make sure that you give every single person. I try not to sidetrack away from the topic too far, but what I'm trying to get at here is it is important to understand that these people are going to town for you. They're dialing leads. Yes, you're paying them, and yes, they're doing what they're supposed to. But at the same time, just remember, especially when you have to dial leads and you're not getting any inbounds, and you have to dial leads, you have to dial and dial and dial until you get people. That's work that can get you tired, right? Psychologically, especially if you're not finding someone. One of the things that I do when someone is just pounding the phones and they're not getting the results, I'd like to, take them off the phones for a little bit, get on a call with them. If I do a virtual, typically on a virtual system, and I talk to them, I chat, I don't always make it about the dials. I want to talk about things, right? Something. How's your life going? How's your family? Everything is okay. I want to know that something exceptional is not taking place in the person's life, and maybe I can help, not with money but if just knowing that your boss is there for you, and that they care about you, that's huge for anybody who works in this field. Sales is a tremendously difficult field, packed with negatives and uh, rejection, and especially if you have, say you have a trainer, you have a supervisor, and then you have a boss on top of that. You do not want to have three people storming on one single person the entire day. Make sure that whoever the boss is, give one single person the task to communicate frustration to the salesperson, so the salesperson doesn't have to hear it over and over and over and over and over again. Um, so I think that's very important. I think it helps your floor a lot, your working space, your account a lot. If you show that you care, that you're there for them, especially when those people um, that you are managing, the ones that are ethical, hardworking people. Nowadays, it's really difficult to find someone who's committed, someone who wants to make money, ambitious, who's not thinking of making money on YouTube or on any social platform, right? So we want to make sure that we take care of those people as much as possible. All right, the second topic that I have here is incentivize good results. Look, a lot of floors have a problem giving a little bit extra. And when someone is frugal, when a company is frugal, and they just focus, you made this much and you accumulated a lot of sales on, a lot of things went right with you. We're going to pay you your paycheck, and never a little bit of an extra incentive. That's a sign of there are companies that are very generous. And if you think about it and you look at these companies that are very generous with, I'm not talking about very extremely generous. I'm just talking about, sensibly business sensibly uh, generous, right? That makes sense, reasonable, right? If you look at those companies typically have the best outcome, the best numbers, the best the people. Everybody wants to work there. The best top salespeople want to work there because they know they're going to be taken care of. As far as always, I've talked about this before. Always pay on time. Pay 100%. Don't ever tell people I'm going to pay you. First of all, don't pay once a month. I have a whole video on that. I'm not going to get into that right now, but pay, at least bi-weekly, right? If not weekly, right? But at the same time, if you're going to pay, if someone made $12,000, don't send them $3,000 and then $5,000. Don't do that. Just pay people their money. Make sure, because that's part of being incentivized. That's part of being motivated. As a salesperson, I want to get 100% of my pay 100% of the time on time, right? I go as far as, if there's a weekend, a holiday on Monday, right? I make it a point to pay on Friday, right? Sometimes systems fail and you have to pay on Tuesday, but for the most part, if you do that, you show care to the people who work for you. But at the same time, if someone, I create incentives, right? If you bring 4 sales, if the average of the week is 2 sales, and I want to give them an extra kick for them to be motivated to make more sales, I will pick it up a notch, right? I'd say, if you make 4 sales, if you close 4 sales, full pay, I'll throw $1,000 on a spiff. For the first setter, for the first closer, for the top closer, we're going to pay $500 extra, $1,000, whatever, right? Sometimes you have contests, right? A whole month worth of contests. At the end of the month, you get $5,000. You have no idea how much money you collect just based on giving people an extra incentive for them to do something extra. You're going to make way more money, and whatever money you give them is just going to be a fraction of what you at the end would have made in return, right? So, in my opinion, it's very important to give people a little piece of the pie, right? A little piece of extra, that little, leftover on the pan, that's left after you make the cake. Give them a little bit of that. They're gonna love that. So to me, that's very important. The third point that I have here is if you are a trainer, show theory with execution. Here's to me what's very important. I have a group of people, right, and I'm teaching them and I'm training them, and they come back to me, or they sometimes some of the things that I tell them are difficult. Like a takeaway, right? If you do this takeaway, you're going to see the reaction of the person pulling back. Some people are not going to pull back, but most people are going to pull back. And if they pull back, that means you're going to be closer to be able to bring a sell, because you build rapport, you build posture, they respect you, they see you as a guide, as a reference point. And if you do this, and then sometimes I see that they're a little bit nervous, and they go try it, and it doesn't work because they're not doing it 100% committed, right? So what do? I take calls. And I close deals. If you're a trainer and you earned the right to be a trainer, you earned it because you're a good closer, because you're effective. Don't be afraid to get on the phone, hop on the phone, and show them how it's done. Once you show them how it's done, nothing can make him recover from not believing in you. Trust me, this is extremely important. It's going to give the faith. It's going to emanate. They're going to find the faith that they wouldn't have if they don't see you performing what you're preaching, right? It is important to test your theory and show that it's true, that it works, all right? So that would be the third point. The fourth and final point here is systems are effective when combined with the psychology of the system. So what does that mean? Systems are effective when combined with the psychology of the system. So every sales process has a system, right? And has different little systems inside that system. That's what makes it work. And it is sequential, right? You have a sequence of those systems. And I'm saying this because I have, especially when you have people with an engineer mind, right? I have an engineer right now. He's excellent at just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But his mind is so square. I mean, this freaking smart guy, really smart. He's very coachable. The guy is an incredible executioner. However, where he has problems is understanding the psychology of why the system is placed in that place, is part of the process. And the psychology is important because here's the problem. When you teach someone the system is going to come with lines, right? You say this, rebuttals, right? To objections, how to handle this. And you're going to teach him, and you're going to show him by example, or you're going to show him, you're going to role play with them. You're going to, reply with the right comeback, with the right rebuttal. But here's the problem. Some people are really good at following the system, but they're not really good at following the psychology of the system. And here's the thing. Sometimes it is important for the psychology of the prospect that the psychology of the closer understands how that system can be altered or arranged or restored for the application of that conversation. So it is important that you focus, when you talk about the system, the strategies, that you also talk about the psychology of why that's in place, especially when they're pressure points that you cannot just bypass, pressure points where it is imperative to go over, analyze it, discuss it, role play it, so that the closer, the seller, whoever you're training as a salesperson, um, for them to understand that there is a psychology embedded, and sometimes you have to make alterations to that part of the system. It is important to believe this. It is important to understand this. And I wanted to throw these 4 points in the mix so that you guys can be a lot more effective, and you can help your system, your closers and setters learn more about the systems and how to dominate the system in that space that you're selling, whatever accounts you have, whatever products and services you're selling. High ticket, you have to behave high ticket to be able to get high ticket money. If you're behaving low ticket, you're not going to get high ticket money, right? So it is important to believe and to help structure and build the minds, design the minds of these marketers, salespeople, closers, setters, into machines that can be very effective, and learn this second nature, right? So just wanted to share that with you guys. My name is Jader, the founder of Black Label Closers, an organization dedicated to help people become highly effective in high ticket sales. I'll catch you here every Tuesday and Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, disagree, agree. Let me know what you feel inside. And let's play some ball. Take care, guys.